All right, today, in my message, we're going to continue on. 1 Thessalonians, just kind of reset. Paul's writing this church. He planted. He was run out of town sooner than he wanted to be. And he needed to communicate with the church. So he did. He sent Timothy back. Timothy brings him a report. And he is thrilled with this church. I mean, they were a contagious church. They were. They just were. I mean, and so Paul really complimented them for their standing firm and all that. But as you know, you could stand firm today and not tomorrow. So he still writes. And so chapters 4 and 5, he gets real practical. And he says, but you know, I still want to talk about some stuff because, you know, you could fall by the wayside. So that's where we're on. Now we pick it up in verse 9 today. But before we get there, I want to set it up. All right? I want to talk about curb appeal. Okay, so right now, Carol and I are trying to sell our house. All right? Hadn't sold yet. Okay, so what happens when you sell your house? You say, we won't sell it. Realtor comes out, and so he comes out, and this is a guy we've used before. We like him, and so this is how it goes, and we've known him for a while. So anyway, so he comes out. We walk around the yard and everything. See, you know, before we go in, let's walk around the yard. So he walks around, and you know what? He sees things I don't see, because I've looked at it for years. I don't notice stuff. Hey, well, you need to do this, and you ought to do this, and you ought to do that, all right? And really, he's looking at curb appeal. Okay, let's go inside. So we go inside, and it's a slow walk. You know, I'm like, man, this should take 5 minutes. No, not quite. A couple hours, right? So a couple hours. So you go inside, and, you know, you really ought to change the color of this bedroom. Savannah's bedroom has been pink for a long time. You ought to go with a different color, all right? So we finally got that repainted. Anyway, he tells you what to do. So you go, because here's the deal. Here's the deal. The real estate agent is looking at it not through your eyes. You loved all the colors of your rooms. You put them in, right? And so, but see, curb appeal is not about you. It's about somebody else. So you get through all that, and he gives you the list. This is what you need to fix. It's like a consultant, you know. And he looks at your house through overgrown, you know, through the eyes of someone else, all right? I mean, he'll notice a dead shrub maybe that you didn't, or he'll notice whatever, all right? I mean, he tells you how to do the countertops. You're like, it's a countertop, you know? I mean, but I mean, it's everything. All right. Now, the key here is to eliminate the smallest distraction. Because, see, if somebody's going to buy your house, you don't want to give them any reason for not buying. Are you with me? Sure. You want to limit them all. Okay, and that's why it's one of the jobs of the real estate agent. Now, what I like about that is, do you realize that in the church, it's the same way? And Paul begins to get really practical at the text we're going to look at in just a moment. But before we do, I thought, you know what? This happens elsewhere in the Bible. So I have in your notes, 1 Kings chapter 10. This is just one of my favorite passages of the Bible. I mean, it's about Solomon, the story, the Queen of Sheba. Everybody's heard of the Queen of Sheba, right? I mean, even if you didn't grow up in church, you heard of the Queen of Sheba. Just like you heard of David and Goliath and all that. So here we go. So here we are in chapter 10, 1 Kings. Now, when the Queen of Sheba heard, now I want you to contextualize everything through today, the day in which we live. So now when the Queen of Sheba, or your friend, heard about the fame of Solomon, or about New Hope Church. You know, I just want you to read this in, because we can't go back there. So I got to make it, you know, bring it up to date. Concerning the name of the Lord. Wow. At the end of the day, it's about God. Remember I told you, it's our house colors, and all, it's not about us. Church is not about me. Church is not about us. It's about God and those on the outside. And then she came to test him with hard questions. Somebody comes look at your house. They're looking at everything. They're looking to think, why? I'm looking for a reason not to buy. Why would you give them one? All right? So she came at Solomon hard and said, well, that's not fair. Look, that's life. I mean, that's his life. You go to a new restaurant. You're looking for a reason to go back. I mean, if they give you a reason not to go back, you're not going back. Well, we've only waited for the food for 87 minutes according to my watch now, which I don't have. I don't think we're going to come back here to eat again. See, they gave you a reason not to come back. All right. Well, she came to Jerusalem with a very great retinue, with her camels bearing spices and very much gold and precious stones. And when she came to Solomon, she told him all that was on her mind. Solomon answered all her questions. There was nothing hidden from the king that he could not explain to her. And when the Queen of Sheba had seen it all, she scoped it all out. The wisdom of Solomon, the house that he built. See, the physical environment matters. When people come to our building one day, and they come up the driveway, and we're going to have a nicely landscaped driveway, they're going to scope it all out. They're going to notice stuff that we won't notice because we've driven up it several times. And then they're going to see the building, and they're going to make a judgment just like that. They are. That's just how life is. The wisdom of Solomon, the physical matter, the food of his table. Got to have good coffee. I was reading an article recently about Australia, the coffee. You know what the guy said in Australia? In Australia, you can't find bad coffee. Oh, I wish that was true in America, but, you know, I don't know why it is. You think, why would you have... Anyway, I got to move on. But she noticed all that. So she noticed the food. I got to jump a little bit around. So she noticed the music, the message. I mean, she's checking it all out. And then there's the seating of his officials and the attendance of the servants. I mean, people want to know if you have bought in. Do they not? I mean, if you go to a restaurant, you want to know if anybody else has bought in, and you look around and you're the only one, and an hour later you're the only one eating still? What are you thinking? Ain't nobody else eating this stuff but us. That's not good. So she's noticing everything. See, we don't give enough credit to people. People come to check us out, and they see things that we don't see. They scope it all out. And then they notice their clothing. They want to know if they fit in. All right? And I'm sure, the rest of the summer, we'll be seeing more shorts pop up, except for on me. I don't wear shorts, because that would be a distraction, would it not? Could you imagine if y'all had to look at my legs? They are not, they're nothing. That would be, no, that would, y'all would all leave. All right, so we're not going there. And then his cupbearers, the volunteers, people that just served and worked, cupbearers. And the burnt offerings in the house of the Lord, there was no more breath in her. They had exceeded her expectations. Wow. And then she said to the king, the report was true that I heard. Now here's the deal. You're going to somebody to New Hope. You're going to invite somebody to the grand opening. Now I'll give you the date, but I'll tell you in a few months, but not today. And you know what? You already know what you're thinking. You are. You're thinking, well, I hope Mike has an okay message today. You are. That's okay. That's okay. I love, you know why I like speaking every single week? Because you have no idea how much time and effort goes into a message, because I believe God can use it to change your life, but I need God to anoint every message I do, because I don't know who in here today God needs to speak to. It may not be on what I'm talking about, but God can, that's God. He can do that. And I never want to underestimate the power of a Sunday morning. Carol and I were at the homeschool graduation and in the homeschool co-op, which is one of the better ones in the state of Virginia. Parents drive from Richmond up here and to put their kids in the homeschool that meets once a week. But anyway, so we went to the graduation, 20 graduates. There are about 400 kids, a little over that in the school. And I won't give you the whole thing, but So every kid had 3 minutes, and so most of them had a sibling, a parent, or a friend or boss or whatever come and speak about the child or to the child for up to 3 minutes. And we had Savannah because we just decided to choose the most accomplished speaker in the house, and that was her. So she spoke for Gabe. Save me, it's just not my thing. So anyway, and I talked to Carol after the whole day was done, and at the end of the, Matt and Melody came over, my other brother and his wife came over at the house and all that, and at the end of the day, I told Carol, I said, I can't explain it, but I feel at the end of the day so refreshed. And I said, but think about it. For over an hour, we heard highly committed parents or siblings. I mean, they have been following the Lord now 15, 20 years or whatever. Communicate. And I said, you just can't. There's something about the environment. And I said, and I told her, I said, it's just like Sunday mornings. People underestimate and devalue the 1 hour on Sunday morning. Could you imagine that God would have something to tell you at 10:47, somebody else 10:52 a.m. on Sunday morning, and you missed it? I've told, you know what? And I can't explain it. I can't convince you. I just can't. And but let me tell you something. This one visit to Solomon changed her eternity, and one day you and I will see her in heaven. One trip. 1 hour, or whatever time she had with Solomon, that one trip. It's just incredible. Anyway. Well, let's move on. She said to the king, the report that I heard was true. But in verse 7, I didn't believe the report. We've told you when you invite somebody, just say, come and see, because here's the deal. Why argue with them and try to convince them? I mean, I know at some point you just got to say, come and see. Just like Andrew told Peter, come and see. That's it. Just come one time. I tell people a lot of times, just come one time. That's it. You don't have to come back. Now, if you want to, that's great, but I just want you to come one time. That's it. Well, she said, I came, and with my own eyes I've seen it, and you know what? You exceeded my expectations. The half was not told me. Your wisdom and prosperity surpass the report that I heard. From the time I drove on to the time I drove away, you exceeded my expectations. Happy are your men. You were smiling today, right? When, okay, here's the deal. Here's how it is. Everybody has tough days, tough weeks. And I'm not saying you can't come in and share your problem, but you know what I'm saying. For the most part, we gotta be pretty happy. You know what I mean? We do. Because somebody else is going to come in, and their life fell apart yesterday or 3 days ago. And we want them to be lifted up. All right? I mean, she just noticed the contagious positive attitude. I had to throw that word contagious in because that's our series title. And that's what the church at Thessalonica was like. They were contagious. And the people just loved to serve. Anyway, she said, who continually stand before you and hear your wisdom. Blessed be the Lord your God, who has delighted in you and set you on the throne. She goes on to verse 10, and this is if we exceed expectations. Then she gave. Now, I know she gave money and all that, but here's the deal. If people buy in, they come back. And they even invite some of their friends because they bought in. I mean, and I love that passage. I just do. I mean, I just do. the curb appeal was so good that she bought it. And if you're selling a house, you want the curb appeal inside and outside to be so good, they buy it. Otherwise, why would you have your house on the market? Well, deep down, I think you already know the criteria. I think you do. I mean, because once again, I've already said, if you've invited somebody and they're coming, you're already thinking. And then your friend, they come in, and everybody has a checklist. You know, and I've mentioned some, like clothes, and what will the service be like? Some of them will be put on the spot. You know, all that. You know, will my family enjoy it? I mean, everybody comes with a checklist. Now, I want you to keep in mind, when she came, she was skeptical. She was. Not when she left. So, you know what? If your friend is skeptical, that's okay. That's okay. It's up to us to remove the skepticism. It just is. I mean, that's why our vision is to create a church. Or, well, when I say you never get there. You're always creating a church where the unchurched come and where your friends can come, or the spiritually restless, and then come back to and invite their friends. But curb appeal is huge. It just is. And I think even when the real estate agent talks to you, he's pretty clear. He's concise. I mean, he doesn't talk to you 30 minutes about how to change the color in your room. He just says, hey, change it. And then he's looking for consistency throughout the house. Why? Because he wants it to be compelling. That's it. Compelling. Now, once again, I'm almost to the text before I get there. Do you know the first thing Jesus would tell people? Follow me. Follow me. And I just want to stop for a moment because I think we've devalued that. Once you go back to the first century, every Jewish boy went to school and he was taught a trade by his dad. And I'm just going to give you a brief overview. If they did well in school, you know, honor student, a rabbi, a respected rabbi, well-known rabbi, might say, hey, I want you to be my student. You come follow me. If you go to Israel today, and you go down to the Western Wall, the Wailing Wall, and all that, and you get around, and you go into the old city, you will see rabbis, and you'll see some students behind them, and they're just like him. And I'm telling you, it's uncanny. It's incredible. So what you do, it's just like they become so like him, and so you'll see the guy do this, and you will see. I'm telling you. Now you got to go to Israel to see this, but I'm telling you. And you say, look. Did you notice 3 of those kids scratched the back of their neck when he scratched his? Now, keep that in mind. Because they are following him so closely that they become just like him. They take on his mannerisms. I mean, they pick their nose at the same time. Man, it's just crazy. It's like, wow, they picked up a bad habit there. Well, yeah, that's what happens. So, but when Jesus called some guys, like some fishermen and others, do you know why they were fishing? They weren't one of the honorable students. No rabbi asked them. They were left out. And then this rabbi Jesus came along. He said, hey, follow me. And the Bible says, like when Peter and Andrew, man, they dropped their nets immediately. You know why? What an honor. You don't have to tell us twice. We're in. No other rabbi had called them to follow. They were told that they weren't worthy to be followers of a rabbi. What an honor to follow Jesus and become more like him. And what did they learn? I know they learned this passage. Let's jump now. 1 Thessalonians 4. That was all introduction. I just had to get here and set it up. All right? Now, concerning brotherly love, you have no need for anyone to write you, for you yourselves have been taught by God to love one another. For indeed, that indeed is what you are doing to all the brothers throughout Macedonia. And we urge you, brothers, to do this more and more. And to aspire to live quietly, to mind your own affairs, to work with your own hands as we instructed you. So that, there's a reason for all this, so that you may walk properly before outsiders and be dependent on no one. Hey, Jesus talked about curb appeal. Demonstrated it. John 13:35. By this, all people will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another. See, in other words, if they see your love, you're the real deal. Simple enough. Maybe not as easy as we think. So I want to give you 4 things that you have to do. And the first one, obviously, is to love one another. Now, I know that we have distorted love and we have misunderstood love, and we don't always get it right. But can you imagine if you could follow Jesus for over 3 years? And you go back and read the Gospels. Even after walking with Jesus a couple years, his disciples were still distorting love. And you can read about that, and we'll not take the time. I'm just telling you, it's not always easy. It's hard. You know, you could say, what would love do? Good question, hard to answer. Way back, and I don't remember, I think it was in the 70s. There were bracelets came out, and it had WWJD on them. All right? And that meant, what would Jesus do? All right, it was real popular, real popular. Now, it sounds good, right? What would Jesus do? That's the same thing as asking, what would love do? You know what? What would Jesus do? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not Jesus. You see what I'm saying? You see how hard this is? That's why I got to spend so much time in the Bible to see how he responded to people in various situations. And we've talked about how he encountered people in sin and how did he respond. I mean, I'm just amazed. I mean, Jesus said, pray for your enemies. How are we doing on that? That's okay. I'm just going to be really transparent on you. I have a hard time with that. Okay? I mean, you just try it sometime. You just pick out an enemy. I don't really have personal enemies, but I got some people in higher places that I'm not fond of. And I'm just telling you, you go home and try to pray for them. See how hard it is. I mean, it is. I mean, I'm just telling you, it's hard. But here's another thing I know about love. Love might allow you to go through a tough trial. Now, I know in this day and age of parenting, I mean, when 5-year-olds play soccer, they all get trophies. Because why would we want them to know what the real world's like? You know what I mean? Well, we don't want their feelings to get hurt. Why are they playing sports? I mean, I don't know. Maybe I was just, I don't know. I don't know. I played sports, and I had a lot of bad moments. I'm telling you that. I had a lot of sad moments. I struck out in baseball before. I did. I played baseball. I think everybody I played with struck out at least once. I mean, it just came with the territory. I've even made the last out in a ball game. I even struck out, made the last out in the ball game. How does that make you feel, huh? Love can be tough. My parents let me do that. They let me play the game. It's their fault. Anyway. Hey, but Jesus will let you go through tough times. Notice in James chapter 1, dear brothers and sisters, when troubles of any kind come your way, oh God, you wouldn't do that to me, would you? Yeah, I would. Love does that. You're kidding. Consider an opportunity for great joy. Whatever. For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. So let it grow. For when your endurance is fully developed, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing. Hey, before I came here this morning, well, I was here, and so the AC wasn't working. The thing was on, so she called. A guy came out. I got to talking to him. Mike grabbed me and introduced him to me because he does heating and anyway, so he's going to give us a price on the building. Anyway, another story. So we're talking. He's a believer, committed believer, and he told me where he went to church. And anyway, so he's got a 12-year-old daughter, type 1 diabetes. And he was telling me about all the, some of the tough times. But do you know that in the last couple of years, God's used that, given her a platform? She won, I think, Miss Preteen of Virginia. She's been in the Oval Office, and she's been able to share her testimony or whatever in Congress. And I mean, he's telling me this stuff, and I'm like, why would love let anybody get diabetes? Why? See, I don't know. I can't always tell you why love does what it does. I'm just telling you, you don't always know what love would do. You need wisdom. But I know this, let it grow, because when your endurance is fully developed, all I know is tough times can help me get better. That's all I know, and grow. Hey, and love may punish you. I mean, all you got to do is have kids. I mean, surely they're going to do something at one time that needs punished. Most will. It might allow you to experience the agony of defeat, and love might even rebuke you to your face. Remember when Jesus told Peter one time, "Get behind me, Satan"? Oh, Jesus, that's so unloving, so unkind. Really? Jesus didn't think so. I'm going with Jesus, by the way. This is my standard reply. When you rise from the dead and you predict it, I'm with you. I'm not going with anybody. I'm sticking with Jesus on this one, all right? In fact, love might even withhold something from you. Yeah. Go back and read in the Gospels. A couple of disciples, they wanted premium seating with Jesus in the coming kingdom. The right hand and the left hand. They wanted front row seats at the NBA Finals. And they even got their mom to come and, give me a break. I know that didn't go over well. In fact, you can read the story in the Gospels. In fact, the other guys got mad. The other disciples got mad. And Jesus said, "I'm not doing it." So love might withhold something from you. See, that's what's hard about love. When we think of love, we don't think of tough love. We just don't. And there's the rub. See, God's more interested in our personal growth than our immediate gratification. He just is. In fact, when you go through a trial, first thought is, "God, get me out of this." It should be, "God, get me through this." Big difference. See, when God gets me through something, I grow. I become stronger and better and more mature. When I get out of it, it's easy. So I'm up to bat, playing baseball. Let's just go back to my strikeout. I got 2 strikes. Wild pitch, guy scores from third. There were 2 out. Boom, went in run. Did I grow? No. I was bailed out. You know what I'm saying? I'd like to have gotten the hit, right? Sort of. But I didn't want to. It's a story. Anyway. Just saying, love's tough. It's just tough what you go through. Well, but Paul doesn't stop there. It's just not that. It's not that. As great as love is, and that's like the killer app. But you got a phone, you have more than one app, right? Anybody in here want to go down to one app on your phone? Anybody? No. One's not going to do it. Now, you can't live without that one, but you got to have others. You just do. Takes more. All right. Number 2, strive for balance. Aspire to live quietly. Here's what it basically means. Make it your ambition to stay out of the limelight. In other words, be ambitious, but don't go overboard. I know, it sounds like a paradox. Let me illustrate like this. When I started out in my studies in the Bible, I don't know why, I gravitated to prophecy. Now, if you're interested in prophecy, we are coming up to one of the greatest prophetic passages in the New Testament, starting next week. But anyway, that's an ad for next week. All right. We interrupt this commercial or program to bring you an important... Oh, anyway, we've got to move on. All right. So I gravitated to prophecy. I started reading books and more books. It's all I did. I went overboard. I did. I went overboard. I probably was obnoxious to be around. All I want to talk about is prophecy. All I want to talk about last things. I just want to talk about what would happen. Look at the current situation. And I remember being in a church in Florida. I still remember it because I wish I had my message, and I don't. But I don't know where my notes are, and didn't have digital stuff back then. And I file everything, but I don't know where. So I was speaking in front of a few hundred people anyway. So I got to speak in this church in Tampa. And so I thought, well, I'll just talk about prophecy because I was kind of asked to do it on the spur of the moment. So I knew I could just do that, right? Because I was living it. I mean, you know, So my message was titled, now President Reagan was the president at the time, and so I said, you know, let me just give you 10 things to look for and I said, you know, if the rapture is near and all this. I just, anyway, so I give him 10 things. And so my 10th point, and some of you may have heard me share this before, so my 10th point, number 10, here it was. The assassination or the attempted assassination of President Reagan. That was my point number 10. That was on a Sunday morning. On Tuesday, I am in Louisiana going door to door, inviting people to a church. And there's a screen door, TV's on, CBS. And that's when people watch CBS, you know, and whatever. Now they watch cable, but CBS. And so I'm on there, and, you know, right as I'm about to hit the door, we interrupt this program to bring you this news flash. President Reagan has been shot. I mean, wow. And my first thought was, I had nothing to do with that. That's just, and you know, but anyway. And I mean, but prophecy is fascinating. It is. You say, well, how'd you come up with that? Well, I ain't got time to tell you right now. We got to move on. But we'll talk a little bit in the next couple of weeks because we got to talk about that passage. All I'm saying is it consumed me. Now, here's what I know. When you get out of balance, you can become obnoxious. You mean if you're around somebody and all they talk about is one thing? Then they get obnoxious? Hey, I'm just telling you, that's a turnoff. I mean, it just is. Just be more balanced. That's all. It'll help you. All right, let's move on to number 3. And we've all heard this. You know, we talk kind of like mind your own affairs, so watch your whispers. You know, we like to get into everybody else's junk, in their business, do we not? I mean, we can solve everybody else's problems, can we not? I can solve the government's problems. I mean, we just can't. I could solve Walmart's problems. If you got 22 registers, open more than 2. It's not that hard. I mean, I'm just telling you, you know, life's not that complicated. It's just not. I mean, but you know, anyway, I remember one of my favorite stories of all time. So about 40 years ago, we're putting the steel up on the Staples Shopping Center. Everybody knows now it wasn't the Staples at the time, but it was a dark drug. But anyway, so the Staples Shopping Center is an A&P grocery store. Anyway, they're all gone, and now we got other stuff. And I was working on the roof of the Staples Shopping Center, putting the steel in. Now, okay, here's the deal. Now, this is going to be like a requirement for all New Hope attenders. Now, when we get the building, I'll point up and show you. But I need you to understand my illustration. So you go up in there, and we'll have exposed steel, and you have these little angles running through the bar joist, and you'll say, well, what's that? Okay, I can't explain everything right now. But anyway, and you have to weld them on every bar joist, top and bottom. All right. And so we had hired a new welder. All right? And so I got the unfortunate job of holding the bridging, which I would much rather have welded, but anyway, we were checking this guy out. So, and this really drove me crazy. Okay, there's no reason to sit down, but here's what some guys do. He sits on the bar joist, raises it up. Now, they come in 20-foot lengths, so I'm on the other end to hold it, and I stay ahead of him so it's easy. Anyway, so I got to work with this guy. To make it worse, by the time you sit down, you could have welded it. We'd move it. Anyways, no story. So, you know what he wanted to talk about all morning? My dad. Now, he didn't know that I was the boss's son, all right? He did not know that my dad owned the company. So he's talking about my dad all morning. Now, you know the employee line. I'm not getting paid enough. My benefits aren't good enough. It's all bad. It's all bad. I didn't say a word. I just listened to him. So the foreman on the job, Jack, I came down. I was telling him. So we're all sitting down at lunchtime, right? Because, we're going to milk this thing, right? And so about, 20 minutes into lunch, Jack looks over at me. Say, hey, Mike, so when's your dad coming down to the job site? And he looks at me all afternoon. He was as apologetic as whatever. He didn't last long anyway. I mean, look, if you're that slow, but listen, isn't this so true about lifestyle? He was so slow. He was making more than me, and I could have done that job at least 3 times as fast as him. Anyway, that's another story. Anyway, my land. He was the one getting overpaid. He thought he was getting underpaid. He's making more than me. Oh, man. I got to get on to number 4. You got to do your work with excellence. Curb appeal. Did you know that when you go to work tomorrow, people are checking out your curb appeal? They are. Now, if you can't do something, say so. I get around guys a lot, and I tell Carol all the time, I say, I get around guys, and maybe it's because I played sports. I don't know. When you play sports, you just can't argue. If you're playing basketball and you hit 1 out of 20, you're not good. At least that night or that day. You can't fudge. Oh, I had a pretty good game night, didn't I? No, doesn't qualify. So do your work with excellence. Oh, because I think if you do, I think you're going to come across as more responsible. And I think that's going to lead to more economic stability. Did you know that matters? Paul said in Ephesians 4, let the thief steal no longer, but rather let him labor doing honest work with his own hands, so that he may have something to share with anyone in need. And Paul said in 1 Thessalonians, so that you don't depend on somebody else. Now, most of us in here are not getting ready to retire or anything like that, but I do know this. Even right now, we're trying to raise $10,000 for the footings cash. And there's people in here, I'm sure. And if you can't give whatever amount you'd like to give because you're just not financially able, it hurts. Because you want to be a part. And it hurts. And then you feel left out. And then pictures are going to show up on Facebook this week. And it's going to hurt. And Paul says, and there's always periods in somebody's life. But Paul says to the place where you're financially independent. I love the country we live in. We live in the greatest country. And we have a lot of programs, and we do a lot of things to help people. I love that we do that. But you know what I think the big problem is? And probably because I see it more, I don't know, maybe because I was around in the 1960s when Lyndon Johnson was president, and we started the Great Society, and we were going to eliminate poverty, and it's cost trillions of dollars, and it's worse now than it was then. And I think we've given people a fish, as a country, but we don't teach people how to fish. And we don't teach people as a country now, overall. I know there are companies that do, but as a country, our government has tended to make us more dependent on them. And Paul said, you know, your curb appeal as a believer is going to look a lot better if you're dependent financially. I mean, independent, dependent only on yourself. In Colossians 4:5, Paul said, live wisely among those who are not believers and make the most of every opportunity. Now, of course, one thing stands out to me. I mean, love we get. I get all that, and we want to strive, and it's hard to love like Jesus loved because, I don't know about you, but I'm selfish. And I'm self-centered. I mean, last Memorial Day, Carol had plans, wanted me to do something with her. And now, I love my wife. Been married over 30 years. I didn't want to go. Why? Because I'm a little out of bounds. You know, I wanted to study some theology that day. It sounded like a great thing to do on a holiday. But I did go. I mean, you know, we did. We just spent the whole day together. Then we went to Gordonsville and had barbecue at the Barbecue Exchange. I mean, we got home, went home, got engaged, and anyway, so I'm just self-centered. I am. I don't know if y'all struggle with stuff like that. I just find it hard to love. Can you imagine that? I find it hard at times to love my wife. You tell me love's easy? It's not. And then Paul added things we don't think about. Unbalanced living, got that. That's me. Attitudes about other people, turn around, yeah, a little check mark there. Wow, curb appeal. You know what? Isn't it nice to have real estate agents if you're going to sell your house? Isn't it nice to be a believer and actually have a Bible that you can come to and it'll just hit some simple things in your life? Simple things that you thought nobody else would notice. And they do. Curb appeal. You may not see it, but everybody else does. I love this passage. The way to be more contagious, Paul said, watch your curb appeal. Let's stand for prayer, shall we?